Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello and welcome to Sofie's portfolio for 2022. What I made this year was an arcade game that uses disposable litter as payment. The problem that I intend to solve this year is how to reduce littering using gamification. At first, I didn't particularly care for the environment. Whenever I see litter, I didn't pick it up and dispose of it properly because I thought that it wasn't my problem. However, later on, I noticed how much litter is in Indonesia. There's hardly any streets where you can't see litter. They're everywhere. But I didn't commit any actions to preventing this until I went to PA and got interested in the concept of FIDs. I learned that I could still have the chance to create a change in my community. I decided to make something more ambitious and personal this year to reflect on what I have learned. To start, I researched on topics related to littering, such as the predictors of littering, and the benefits and usage of gamification. To start off, what counts as littering? Littering, in this context, refers to the act of disposing waste improperly and outside of a receptacle, i.e. a trash bin or a cigarette tray. Litter causes great negative impact in their surroundings. They are a source of contaminations and attract pests, which, by extension, attracts disease. They bring down the aesthetic value of their environment. They can also even be predictive of crime. In excess, they are costly to remove. It's obvious that littering has no positive advantages and many disadvantages, so why does littering happen? According to a study in 2013, where researchers observed several sites with varying levels of cleanliness and convenience in the US, 85% of littering resulted from individual variability. The rest is result from environmental cues. Places that often get heavily littered enforces the norm that littering is acceptable for the place. Litterers also excuse their behavior by assuming their litter is inconsequential, not technically litter, or that they will get cleaned up later. People also wish to dispose of their litter as fast and as easy as possible. Convenience is a very prominent factor. From observation, littering rates decreased by 1% from the original 17% for every added receptacle. For every increase for the same amount of existing litter in the environment, littering rates increase by 2%. Littering can also become an ingrained habit and so are done unconsciously. Who litters? There's still no particular demographic who litters more than others, though research shows that there's still a slight difference in littering behavior. Men more often litter more than women, younger people litter more than older people, and smokers litter more than non-smokers. Those who don't feel a sense of responsibility for their environment, i.e. for not being connected to the local community or as an incentive to rebel, also tend to litter. However, there's a chance that the differences can be overestimated because different demographics are more blunt about their littering behavior. This could be due to multiple reasons, like a sense of shame from littering or excusing their behavior. To solve this problem, I wanted to utilize the elements of gamification. Gamification is the application of game-based features, for example, leveling up, achievements, or a leaderboard, to a non-gaming activity, with the intended result of the recipient gaining more motivation and enjoyment from the activity. Gamification is most effective when the games are entertaining and rewarding towards the player. Folded, an online puzzle game developed by the University of Washington, is a good example of the sheer potential of gamification. The objective of the game was to fold protein structures as perfectly as possible. High-scoring solutions are analyzed to see if they're applicable to the relevant proteins. In 2011, a folded puzzle was created to help decipher the crystal structure of the retroviral protease from the Mason-Pfizer monkey virus. The mystery of MPMV, a virus that causes symptoms similar to HIV and AIDS, was unsolved for 15 years. Guess how long Folded players solved it in the 3 weeks it was available? 10 days. Folded was included in many scientific publications due to its accomplishments. Players were found to be able to build structures more accurately than crystallographers and automated model building algorithms. I wanted to create a convenient yet fun way to dispose of litter in the hopes of reducing littering rates. If the arcade game is fun and enjoyable, then there would be significantly less litter in POA and littering behavior decreases because the entertainment from the arcade game is motivating and rewarding enough to decrease littering. I made the machine brightly colored and gave it accompanying instructions for easy access. I will currently target students of POA, but if I plan to cater to a wider audience in the future, I want to target mostly children and teens. First, I commissioned a local woodworking business to create the structure for the arcade machine. The structure is made out of MDF wood and features a cabinet in the bottom to store the litter with a key and lock. Here's the timeline. This project is neither cheap nor easy, but the result was more than satisfactory. Here is the total price. All the funding came from my own savings. The game console itself was borrowed from Amulisna. I would like to thank Amulisna for being my mentor and of great help towards my project, and also Amu Faiza, Amu Sakti, and Aba Ikin for their assistance, and my parents for their great support. I shared this project on December 1st with the audience of 7th and 8th graders of POA. The response was greatly positive. Multiple people wanted to play it, though not all got the chance. I used a game console that compiles more than 600 games in it, meaning that people would spend time looking for a game they want to play, adding to the time they would be playing. There's also the occasion where they had no idea how to play. In the future, I would like to limit how many games can be played to minimize this problem. There was also no available container for the trash, and multiple participants were unsure on where to dispose of the plastic. I would probably need to use signs or a visual indicator to indicate where to dispose it. However, I would say that my project was successful. Multiple people actually left the room to search for plastic so they can play, meaning that gaming gives an effective reason for people to clean litter. But as I did not see where they get their litter from, there's a chance that they simply found a garbage can to take plastic from, and didn't pick up any litter. However, I think that placing the arcade machine in an area with no surrounding receptacle can minimize this problem. This is the resulting amount of plastic that I got on share day. So, what's next? This is still a beta test. There might be significant changes to the appearance or the system in the future, for example, utilizing AI for automation or having original games. My vision would include making the arcade machine automated, solve the problems I mentioned earlier, and introduce elements of competition and rewards to attract more players. I currently have no plans to share this project with any organization or to make it public, but it may happen in the future. There's also no end date for development as of now, but I want to mitigate the more permanent problems I found during share day. Ideally, they will be solved by the time of my graduation. Overall, I found this project to be greatly rewarding to me. I found experience in using my own money to fund my project, have greater independence, and practiced reading scientific publications. Most of all, the process was enjoyable, and the results were satisfactory. Thank you for listening to my presentation. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.